Okay, so there we go. So welcome to tonight. We're meeting with Lawrence Josh, the creator of the Canadian 12-step program for alienated parents. It's a very interesting program, and I wanted to make sure that we could help as many target parents as possible with various means of support, and this seems like a great program. So we're very fortunate that Lawrence and Katherine decided to come speak with us today, so thank you. I'm just going to start off by showing our parental alienation support group, just so everybody knows who's hosting tonight. It's we're really proud of the group. We have a good team of admins that work on doing a good. We try to do a good job moderating and caring for all the target parents. We have events. We do erasing family screenings. It's a documentary on parental alienation, and we try to give good information about programs and resources available. We also offer the emotional support if we can, and like peer support in the program, in the group. So we're pretty vigilant about keeping the rules up. So some of the benefits, I think, that differentiate us from other groups is we don't have spam and advertising from some of these really aggressive. It's more about support, right? So yeah, so that's what I think separates us. But so thank you so much. So that I'm just going to stop the screen share. And I'd like to welcome both Lawrence and Katherine. Thank you so much for making time to come speak with us tonight and tell us about your program. So can you guys both introduce yourselves? Come off.
Hi, Ola. Yep. Hi, Ola. My name is Lawrence, and I'm going to introduce myself the way we would in a meeting, just to give you a little bit of context. My name's Lawrence. I'm an alienated father and grandfather. I have 3 daughters. I have a 27-year-old I've been alienated from for about 7 years. I have a 24-year-old that's been about 3 years. And I have a 20-year-old that I still have contact with. And I'm also a new grandfather. It's been about 3 or 4 months.
Hi, my name's Katherine. I'm an alienated parent of 2. My oldest is 24, my youngest is 17. I've been alienated since 2010, and I don't have any contact with either one of
them. Okay. Could you tell us a bit about why you're both involved in, so we know why you're involved with parental alienation, but how did you become more knowledgeable about the subject or become interested to do more than, to become more active? What was the process?
For me, I've been struggling with alienation for about 16 years, and I've been around 12-step programs for about 33 years. So I've been through several different 12 steps programs, and I'm still affiliated with them. And at a certain point, some of my shared realities, some of the languaging, some of the feelings and emotions that no one else can understand, I wasn't finding folks within those circles that I could meet and create community with. So we decided to create a 12-step group specifically for parental alienation. And it's adapted from Al-Anon, which is basically the sister group to Alcoholics Anonymous. So we use the same 12 steps, which are originally from AA, but we adapt them to Parental Alienation Anonymous. And it's a recovery group. It's about recovering our lives, recovering our sanity in order to go out into the world and be a little bit more available to and when we get opportunities with our children. So it's a recovery group. And I got involved because the pain's just too great to do by yourself. It's suffocating out there. It's isolating. It's lonely. It's scary. And I didn't want to do it by myself anymore. So that's kind of how the group kind of got started.
Okay. So when did you say you created it?
We've been going since the beginning of this year.
Okay. So
it's relatively new.
Mm-hmm. And so when a person comes to your program, what can they expect from the program? Like what happens, what is the process? What happens in the program? Can you be more specific?
Yeah, I'll give you some specifics, and then I'll let Katherine answer the same question as well as someone that came to a meeting and has a little different perspective. So when you come to a 12-step meeting, it's basically exactly like we're doing right here, where there's a group of us on Zoom. There's a leader for a meeting, and the leader has a script that they read. So there's consistency from meeting to meeting. And we go through just introducing what parental alienation is, what we're all doing here, what recovery looks like. And then there's a secretary that basically is doing your job, which kind of holds the safety with the meeting and makes sure that everything flows really well. And the secretary makes some announcements, some resources and different things that the group has. And then the leader will jump in and they'll share part of their story based and around some form of recovery. So this isn't just about talking about and being stuck in our narratives, which is so easy to be just in that one place. It's really working through some of the stuff and getting support in a different kind of way. And after the leader shares, everyone in the group has an opportunity to A, volunteer to share, B, just sit quietly and just listen. And once everyone's gone through sharing, we have some prompts to dive a little bit deeper into the topic if folks are interested in doing that. And then we wrap up the meeting. And before every meeting and after every meeting, there's like a fellowship period where there is no structure and we can just hang out and talk about whatever comes up, or people have questions or different stuff like that. And that's like a really high, wide view of what we do. And I think Katherine would be great to share what it was like showing up with no 12-step experience to a meeting.
Sure. And go ahead, Katherine.
Yes. So just to kind of backtrack a bit, Monique, for your question poses, you know, how did I become interested in it?
Okay.
For me, as someone who didn't have knowledge of 12-step, and for the length that I had been experiencing parental alienation in my life, I was looking for something more. I had plateaued with all the stuff that I was doing to take care of myself. And something happened that triggered the awareness that I needed something more. So doing a search, I came across the program and I was like, great, let's see. So my first experience into the program was just so profound for me. What could I expect from the program? I'll tell you, the first instance of walking through was I felt like a weight had been lifted. I didn't need to explain what parental alienation was. I didn't have to take the time and energy to educate or defend myself. It was like a starting point that I could start working on my recovery. And what recovery means is that I didn't have to stay in that spot of pain. I didn't have to stay in that spot of suffering. And by the end of my first meeting, there was a need for me to go back and see where that could take me. So that's my experience.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I got from my first meeting. I never had taken part in any 12-step program before.
Wow, that is quite a story. Especially because we have so many parents that do feel stuck, and it seems like they're spending a lot of time like with the advocacy, like you're talking in, and a lot of people don't even know what this is. They've never heard the term parental alienation. And so we do spend time on the education in the group, but a lot of the parents neglect their self-care. And someone in this situation, yeah, like how can you recover if you know, you shouldn't have to defend yourself by how you feel. So that's great to know this is a good place for to get that relief that you're looking for. Are there any challenges or setbacks that a person can expect in the program? So what are some obstacles, or what are some common roadblocks, what can, like, realistically, if there are challenges to face, what are they?
Well, what are this? Sorry, Katherine, you want to go first this time? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Lawrence. Sorry, just that's kind of for the typical kind of thing we do in the meetings. If we raise our hand to say we would like to speak. For setbacks and challenges, I would equate it to starting a gym membership. We have trepidation. What am I going to expect, and what kind of commitment am I going to am I going to have to do to get the results that I have envisioned? I think the setbacks is your own personal setbacks. For me, that's what I see going to the program is you're gonna, it's an investment in yourself. So if you don't want to commit, there's no one that's going to hound you to commit. So that from a newbie would say it's a personal commitment and if you're not committed, again, there's no pressure. It's a very profound program.
And the perspective that I'd like to share, first of all, we have 5 meetings a week, and each meeting has a different topic. So it's really important to try different meetings. It's just like going to different restaurants. The food tastes different, and different folks come to different restaurants. You might find a meeting you love, and you might find a meeting like you're like, eh. You know what I mean? And that's a really important part of the discernment, that you do take the time to check out different meetings. Another thing that I hear coming up a lot of time for people that are new is they're hearing stories of people that have been alienated a longer term or alienated differently. And it brings up emotions the first couple of meetings. It brings up some fear. It brings up some kind of concern. And in the context of sharing, there's a lot of stuff like that newcomers will grab onto, and they can't necessarily hear some of the recovery. Like, yeah, my heart breaks, I miss my kids, and I have an incredibly big, full life, and these are all the wonderful things that I do to take care of myself. Like, it takes a newcomer a while to get acclimated and feel safe and see the consistency and the continuity. And it's like going to Starbucks or going to your favorite place to hang out, and you see familiar faces and you get to track this story from week to week, and there's growth. And in that growth becomes safety, and in that safety becomes the messaging that we're so used to telling everyone is our story. I want people to listen to my story. I want people to advocate for me. I want people to know how painful this is. Right. And we get lost in that sometimes. And this is a recovery group. This is about recovering a relationship with ourselves. This is about taking responsibility for our whole lives and every relationship in it, and ultimately, if we can recover ourselves and start to grow as a person, it's going to give our kids 1,000 times better chance and us 1,000 times better chance to connect with them. So it's not a place to get our kids back. It's a place to recover a relationship.
Whoa, you muted yourself.
Oh, sorry, mute. Yeah, you're up to come off mute. Sorry. I think I muted someone, and I think I accidentally muted him because I was muting somebody else. I'm sorry, Lawrence. I'll just.
Whoops, sorry. I didn't even realize that.
Okay, sorry. About the last 15 seconds are cut off. Sorry.
I have no idea what to say, but I can promise you it was really good. And just to go over the things that are difficult when you first come in, you need to try different meetings. You need to hear different people lead. You need to hear different topics. It does get a bit emotional, and you need to work through that, or reach out to someone in the group and we can help you with some of those things, because we've all been through that. And also the steps are new. It's like a foreign process to a lot of people, and they don't really get what they are. So like the first steps is we are powerless over our alienator people and organizations, and our life is unmanageable. And like you hear that, you walk into a meeting and I'm like, I don't want to hear that. I just want my kid back, right? Because that's what's underneath everything. But the reality is I am powerless over people. I'm powerless over the court system. I'm powerless over these things. It doesn't mean that I give up and I don't do my work and I don't show up. It just means I can only do what I can do. And then at a point, I got to let go. And the second part of it is my life is unmanageable. And then unmanageability might show up is I can't get up in the morning. I can't work. I don't have any kind of energy. And these are the things that we work through in the first step. And again, it's about regaining our lives, regaining a footing in our lives. And as you work through the steps, your life gets bigger, you get more grounded, your world starts to grow, you start to form different kinds of meaningful relationships that support you in this recovery effort to get your kids back. But without the support system and without these tools, I have no chance. I tried it by myself for a very long time, and I created a lot of havoc. You know what I mean? It's like being in a Glad bag. Like a Glad bag is a garbage bag, and all you see is elbows and knees. And for the first part of parental alienation, that's what it was. I was just trying to get out of the bag, and there was no one to help me. And in 12-step, I found folks that are willing to walk along with me, So I think I answered your question.
Yeah. You said there's different types of groups. I don't know if you can tell me, I'm just curious what, like maybe 2 different groups, just so I know like different
Sure.
angles. I'm just curious what the groups are.
So we have a step 1 meeting, which we
Oh,
concentrate on the first step. We have a meditation meeting where you have a 5-minute guided meditation, and then we work on the 11th step, which is about meditation. It's about self-awareness. It's about prayer, about connecting with whatever that thing is that you connect with. And then there's another meeting that's based on different kinds of slogans. And one of the slogans is easy does it, one day at a time. And we kind of like dig into these and how do we apply that to our life where I feel like I'm going to die if I don't see my child, and like the easy does it is like, we can't jam ourselves through a brick wall. It doesn't work. It hurts. Like, we have to slow down. We have to resource ourselves. We have to build resiliency. We have to build community. We have to build connection. And then we can go out and do some different things together.
Okay. That was very good. Is there so I was just wondering about the program length. Like, do people have to stay in the program, like is for perpetuity for maintenance, or is there an end date, or like for program length, what is that?
So I've been around 12-step programs for 33 years. I'm going to die in 12-step programs. And when it comes to parental alienation, if I have no contact with my children, I need to be in the group. If I have contact with my children and I'm just rebuilding that relationship, I must probably need to be in the group even more. Like there has to be folks all over the continuum in the group, people that are brand new and just entering the court system, some people that have their kids back, some people that have partial connection, some people that have no connection, because that continuum keeps us all together and keeps us all kind of moving forward. So you don't graduate from the 12 steps. You live in the 12 steps and you go through them several different times. And and it's a foundation for living your life. You use these steps for everything that you do, and then you go out and do your other things on top of it. If you have different spiritual connections or exercise or whatever else you do to resource yourself, that's just an add-on. This just gives you a really, really, really strong foundation to go out into the world. Okay, that makes sense. So you could, I could see how you would have to redo step 1 sometimes, or, have to go back. And even if you're at the end, maybe I could for some of my issues, I could see myself going back to step 1. You don't graduate from any step, and you live in the steps, and they're not linear. Like I can take step 1 and I can say my life's a manager and say that I'm powerless. And then 5 minutes later, I can be telling my mother what to do, which is hopeless. You know what I mean? And so then I go back and I let go again, and then I go back and I let go again, and I keep practicing over and over and over again. And we move through the steps, and the continuum of the program is there's someone called a sponsor that helps guide people through the steps. Then there's the sponsee that's getting guided. And generally you'll have a sponsor and you'll have a sponsee. So it's kind of like the wheel of life. It keeps rotating because there's people helping people over and over again in this round circle. But within the round circle, sometimes the sponsee has something profound to share and the sponsor listens, so it's a continuous growth. And I think as far as the graduating from the steps or keep coming back to the steps, I think Katherine would have some great stuff to share on that because she's in the middle of those first couple steps. Yes, that would be great, Katherine.
Yes. So the steps are, they're cleaning house. I gotta tell you, going through the steps. So each step, there's 12 steps, but each step has subtext questions to them that really start to kind of dig deep and really give you some thought and perspective. I mean, I think we all are in this kind of vortex, and it allows you to kind of take a step back and really view from all points. And as Lawrence said, it's about taking care of ourselves and creating an opportunity for healthier relationships, not just within the parental alienation vortex, but even outside. Like, how did we get to this point? And how can we move on with a healthier mindset and live, right? You're not surviving. And it is so profound. The visibility that I'm gaining and the safe space that these meetings create for that, it's just wonderful and magical. Yeah.
So great. I'm so grateful that you are able to share this with everyone today so that more people can be helped in this program. Is there a vetting process that you have for the program? So who's eligible for your program?
Everyone's eligible for the program. You know what I mean? Specifically in the meetings, most of the time, I would say it's parents, grandparents. We get some aunts and uncles. We get some other family members.
Do you focus on, do you take Canadians across the country?
It's a worldwide organization, and it's also open source. So the whole point of a 12-step program is it's peer-to-peer, it's peer-run, never any kind of charges, and leadership is everyone in the group. So being open source, like anyone can start a meeting at any time, and we can help them start a meeting if they wanted to start an in-person meeting or a meeting at a different kind of time, and we kind of help put everything together. We have all the scripts for all the meetings, all that kind of stuff. If people are looking for something once they get acclimated to a 12-step, but they want some more stuff, it becomes the energy of the group for it to continue to grow and spread around the world.
Okay, so that's good to know. Yeah, so I was looking, I think I was looking for something particularly for Canadians. So any Canadian across or a Canadian resident can come to this program. So is there a vetting process then that you like people apply, and then like do you have any kind of vetting process?
There is no vetting process. There's two kinds of meetings. There's an open meeting where, well, basically there's only the one kind of meeting. There's an open meeting. People sign up for the meeting. They come in through a Zoom link like this. They're in a waiting room. We admit them into the room. People qualify, just saying I'm a parent, I'm alienated, whatever. And we make sure that it's a safe space. If there's anyone that doesn't qualify, we give them an opportunity to qualify. And if they're not interested, we remove them from the meeting.
So I was thinking about like there are PA deniers and maybe an alienator. I don't know if you would have them in the group. I do have them in the Facebook group come in sometimes, and they will. I don't want them in the group because it's not a debate group; it's a support group. And so it's not a debate group to decide if PA is legitimate or not. So yeah, so I guess you don't have any issues with that.
We don't, and it's really, really strict. We're here for recovery. If people are here to make a noise or do something or have an opinion in the middle of the meeting, they can't talk about anyone else in the meeting. They can't talk about someone else's share in the meeting. It's about ourselves. When we share, we're sharing about ourselves. And if people go outside of the lines, the secretary brings them in. If they decide that they want to be disruptive, they get removed. You know, it's a recovery group. And again, it's about our recovery. Before and after the group, there's time for fellowship, and we can have a little bit more open discussion. And the safety of the group is paramount. If people are outside of the lines or trying to promote something or sell something or be disruptive, you know, we remove them from the group, and we try to protect the group as much as possible and as diligently as possible, you know, like you do. It's incredibly important. Yes.
Are there any costs associated with the program?
None.
None? Okay, so there's no charge to be part of the program, and it's okay, that's good to know. Can people volunteer or donate to your program? So you said that this could potentially spread if more people get information and they want to start their own group. I guess they could volunteer to start their own program. But maybe you would need dollars for, I don't know, like the Zoom, your donations for the Zoom, or can people donate?
Eventually, yes, if it's needed to expand or to support the group or support the tech or the website so it's more robust. But right now, there's no anything. We have a Zoom room that's been donated with several rooms, so there's no costs or anything associated with anything. Yeah.
Okay.
And just getting back to that volunteer thing, like the 12-step community, there's some things that are really important. Attending meetings. the meat and potatoes of the 12-step program are the steps and work in the steps. If you just come to meetings and you think you're going to get healthy by association, you're going to get to meet some cool people, but you're not going to get really healthy until you dig into the steps. The third part about it is service. Like, service is incredibly important. We have different secretaries at every meeting, and they volunteer. They pick up a 6-month commitment, and they show up and they open the room and they maintain its safety. And then every meeting has a leader, and the leader leads that specific meeting. They just volunteer to lead one meeting when they're asked. And then there's a timer at the meeting. Again, really safe container. Everyone has 3 minutes to share and 1 minute to wrap up, 4 minutes in total. No one can go over that time. Again, we want to make sure that no one monopolizes the time, no one takes over the group. So you got service, you've got meetings, you got work in the steps, you got being a sponsor or being a sponsee, you know, and then there's other volunteer, opportunities with getting literature out to therapists, to attorneys' offices, helping working on the SEO and the website. Like, this is all 100% volunteer run. So the more folks we have, the better we're going to do. And the primary focus of a 12-step program is to carry the message to the newcomer. Right? Okay. So like on the Western world, we're very I-centric. That's I, me, my kids, I. The group is very much different. We want to carry the message to the newcomer to give them an opportunity to heal, so they in turn can carry the message to someone behind them. Okay.
So service, so they could volunteer with the various roles, like get involved with the secretary, for example. And so help out that way.
100%. Yeah. And when it's appropriate, or you let me know it's appropriate, I'm going to put a bunch of different links there where they can get more information about what a 12-step is. I'll put a newcomers package in the links also, which is what we'd give a newcomer after they came to their first meeting, so they had something tangible to hold on to. We also have a phone list at the meetings, and it's an opt-in phone list. As long as you're opting in with your phone and your email, you have access to other folks. And what we do a lot in parental alienation, like I'll send a text to Johnny and say, hey, Johnny, how you doing today, man? I'm having a rough time. Or, hey, my God, I'm at the beach. It's a beautiful day. And we start to build these little connections with people that resonate with us. So we have these different touchstones between meetings that keep us kind of like moving forward, and we try and support each other.
So you support each other between the meetings then too, and you stay in touch?
100%. And we're not therapists. We're not replacements for doctors, for therapists, for psychologists. We're a group of people that are alienated, that are moving together in the same direction to try have a fuller, more robust life. And the more density we get when it comes to advocacy and stuff like that, and we have a common language, there's all kinds of wonderful stuff we can do in the future.
Okay. So how can people reach out and sign up for the program?
I will put an email in the chat, and you can send out a question. I also put the website, and if you go to the website, a pop-up comes up, and you just fill in your information, and you'll automatically get added to the email list, which goes out once a week. And the email list has meetings, meeting times, meeting links. If there's new resources or anything new that has been added, it will have that as well. If there's special events, we have a Father's Day meeting, a Mother's Day meeting, Christmas Day, Thanksgiving Day, and New Year's Day meetings, so everyone can get through the triangle of the holidays. So all those things will go out once a week and just remind people what's going on. And then there'll be different workshops that are free as well that we do once in a while, a step 1 workshop, or, some other things that we have in the hopper.
Okay, the workshops sound really interesting. Yeah, so I guess we can move to the audience questions now. So Lawrence just put in the website, it looks like, into the chat. And I'll make that available in the PAC group too, so that people have information about how to get to this 12-step program if they feel that it's something they would like to try. And
before we get into the questions, can we see if anything else came up for Katherine, because she is someone new to the group?
Yeah. So sorry, Katherine, go ahead if you have any questions.
Well, just to touch point on with the literature that this is based on with the Al-Anon, I was a little bit skeptical when I started kind of investigating what a 12-step program was. And for me, I'm not a religious person, and I was a little apprehensive, but going into these meetings, didn't matter what type of affiliation, whether it was God or a higher power, what that higher power looks like. To me, it's open to interpretation of your own personal recovery. I wanted to ensure that people that may be a little bit apprehensive because of the God verbiage, it's a higher power, God, Allah, whatever. We have multi-faith, no faith, but it's about your recovery together. We're all, as Lawrence said, we're all walking this journey together.
Okay, so it's not any particular religion. Like it's any kind of like your own personal spirituality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point that Katherine brings up, because you hear a lot about 12-step meetings and folks think that it's a God-based program or it's a cult or Christian. And it is a spiritually based program. And it's about whatever we choose to connect to. And some of the languaging in our 12 steps and stuff has changed to higher power. We try to really focus around whatever that thing is that we connect to on a daily basis to get through. And I put a link in for more stuff on what a 12-step meeting is. I put on a link to what the newcomers booklet looks like. And I'm going to put one more link that has a bunch of resources that are specific to recovery and specific to our program that's on the website also. That's definitely worth spending a couple minutes looking at if you have the time.
Okay. Katherine, do you have any comments about any of the literature that you want to share? Or like, do you find it overwhelming, or like, was it easy to understand, or?
I had an opportunity. So we, again, it's all volunteer based. Lawrence gives a lot of his time for getting everything going, and our support group is growing. Service from that point, it's very enriching. It increases your inner recovery potential. I started off just doing the simple timing. It sounds really corny, but I just use the timer to time everyone and get to use my little finger as a warning. And that really left me with this connectivity in the meetings. So that was my start of service. Then I started to lead a few meetings, and just it becomes part of your familiarity with the people who you see constantly coming to meetings and seeing the growth in their recovery. Again, it's just a gift that they give back to you. The literature, it's new, very insightful for newcomers. Again, if there's any questions, you're concerned, just send an email with your questions, or come to a meeting and try a few different meetings and see if it'll work for you.
So Katherine, do you think that service helps with recovery then?
Absolutely. Service is part of the recovery. Having a sponsor and being a sponsor, I kind of had a little issue about talking about myself when you're working with your sponsor, but then it was told to me that when you become a sponsor, the gift will come back to you, and it's reciprocated. It's kind of like you pay it forward. And I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to pay it forward in another option or another event in your life, how you just kind of, maybe buy someone a coffee, and that little lift, like that feeling, it's even more compounded when you start doing service in the meetings.
Okay, thanks for sharing. That was very great. I'm going to start taking questions now. If anybody wants to put them in the chat for Katherine or Lawrence. Let's see, there was one. Charles says, does this go anywhere near legalities? How to help how to help in court and how it affects children.
As far as the legal side goes, no, I don't think it goes to any kind of legalities. And anyone in a 12-step program, they can get letters from people in the program and stuff like that to character to them doing 12-step work and stuff like that. But as far as holding any weight in court, I think that would be on an individual level if counsel or someone thought it might be useful.
So I guess yes, does it help in court, or how does it affect children? But I guess taking care of your spiritual self will help you in court, help you mentally, or it's mental health. It's mental health conditioning.
And as far as helping kids, 100%. Like, it changed the way I talk to my kids. It changed the way I listen to my kids. It changes the way that I show up in their life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to pause. I don't have to react. If something comes up in my life that I'm not sure about, I have a whole family of people to go to and say, has anyone had this experience before? Have you lived this? And different people have different lived experiences. And I have all this different education that I can go back to a situation that would usually baffle me with all different kinds of information. So for the children, it's life-changing, 100%.
Do you have anything to add to that, Katherine?
No, I think it hit it on the head there, Florence.
Is there any other questions in the chat that we have from the audience? Or if you want to speak up, you can come, just raise your hand or let me know if you want to ask a question.
I'd like to share a perspective just so anyone else that can hear it. The first 12-step meeting that I went to, I had no intention of coming back. You know what I mean? I was in so much emotional, spiritual, and physical pain that I just needed to go somewhere. I didn't come to 12-step meetings on a winning streak. I came to 12-steps meetings just dying. And I thought that I was literally going to die, and I wasn't going to die a physical death. I was just going to bleed out in a meeting. That's how harsh it was. Like, I did not come to stay, you know? So,
and that was decades ago?
You know what? When I came in with that feeling, it was about 16 years ago when this whole journey on parental alienation started with me. I wasn't as desperate before then, but with PA, it definitely got me to a different level of desperation.
That's interesting. Any questions in the chat? Yeah. Oh, here's a meeting. She says, I've attended one meeting. I bailed after that, even though I felt good about being there. I'd like to try again. So can people come back?
100%. The door's always open and everyone's always welcome. And whoever shared that in the email, I think that's an experience that a lot of people have, that they come to a meeting for some reason it feels disconnecting or overwhelming, or it's just a weird format, and it's a bunch of people showing up on a screen talking about stuff in a different kind of way, and it's off-putting. So it takes building up that muscle. You know, like in music, when you're at a drum circle and everyone's drumming at a different beat, after a period of time, it's called entrainment, and everyone starts drumming at the same beat. And that's kind of what happens in a meeting in the beginning. Everyone's off running in a different direction, and it takes time for us to start falling into rhythm. And I suggest trying several meetings, you know, several meetings, different meetings. Pick up a timer, just connect yourself in a tiny, tiny little bit of a way and see how that feels.
Yeah, so I guess if it feels really overwhelming, you could, like you said, just do it like a timer job. Like, that's pretty like straightforward. Like, you're just I mean, it's a good way to meditate or focus on one task so that you don't get overwhelmed if you're just timing there. Do something simple.
Yeah, and it's really important also, if you feel comfortable, is to say, wow, this sucks. This meeting feels uncomfortable. I never want to come back. Like, that's how I spoke in my first meetings, because I didn't want to hang out with these bunch of weirdos that were having problems. I didn't want to be like them. I didn't want my life to end up the way their life ended up. And I was one of them, but I didn't know at the time. But I have to be honest with myself in order to recover. Like, this is uncomfortable. This is bringing up fear. This is bringing up anxiety. Or like, I don't like that one person, what they say. And in program, they say principle before personalities. Take what you like and leave the rest. Just because someone's saying it doesn't mean that it's true. It might be true for them, but just like anywhere else, you take what works and resonates for you, and you kind of leave the rest. And you start to resonate with different people, and you start to really like certain people's kind of recovery, and you start to see an example of what it looks like, you know? So I hope that's useful.
Does anybody, like there's a lot of trauma obviously involved with this. Like having, like I've had with my own issues like PTSD attacks, or does that ever happen? Or people just can't handle it?
100%. Like it's tiring. Like we're tired, we're scared, we're overwhelmed, we're under-resourced. Our resiliency is really, really low. Yeah, like for me, I had anxiety and panic attacks in the beginning, and I had to go get professional help. 12-step meetings was definitely not enough for me. But I will tell you something. I went to a 30-day program, and before the program, I was at 12-step meetings. I had some commitments and service positions, and then I went into a 12-step program because I had to do some more interpersonal, deeper work than I could do in a 12-step meeting. But when I left that program, I came right back into a 12-step meeting. I still had my family in that meeting. I still had my community, but I needed additional help besides that. Yeah, I think it's realistic to have anxiety and panic and fear and PTSD, exactly what you're saying. It takes time to work through that stuff, and it takes time to feel safe and heard and seen. And I'd say one of the richest things of a meeting is you're heard and seen. People know what you're talking about. You don't sound like you're from a different planet. Like you don't have to explain what parental alienation is like. You don't have to explain what court is like. You don't have to explain any of the definitions. Like we're all in the same classroom.
Is there any people that that maybe when they first come, you have to explain what parental alienation is? There's a lot of parents that come into my group that feel some trepidation and they don't know if this is the right place for them. And they may have been told misinformation, or you're not really being alienated, and they have all these feelings because they are being alienated, and they may be misdiagnosed or unvalidated or whatever. So is there I guess there's sometimes you need to explain some things?
100%. Like for me, I didn't know about parental alienation. It's probably the first 6-7 years that I was in this. I didn't know the term. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know there was books on it. So there's a lot of folks that come in that have no idea about it. And we also get a lot of people coming from other 12-step programs, people that have been in programs for 20 years, 25 years, 13 years. And they're coming to the first time to a group that's 12-step based, that's talking about this thing that's nearly killed them. And they're finding like this incredible new relief and this incredible newfound energy. So yeah, we're all, yeah. And some people like to identify as estranged, some people parental alienation. But if we're struggling with those relationships, the group is for, for those folks in particular.
So
coming from a person again, wanting to have a resource where I could, again, I didn't have to explain myself. Everyone knew in the group what it was. It was a respite. Even if it was lots of emotions that happen, sometimes there's laughter, sometimes there's tears, but again, it's a safe environment, and that you can concentrate on your recovery. That's really important, taking care of yourself. So if you are in the midst of like the vortex, the PA vortex, you have energy, you have support, you have resources to call on. Yeah, it really is kind of a welcome home place for me now. It definitely feels like I tapped into a resource that's going to help me to live life as best I can.
We have some comments in the chat too. It seems like what you guys are saying is making other people want to talk about what they're feeling. Let's see. Yeah, we have parents commenting on. Yeah, Karen, did you want to go?
Hi, thanks, Monique. I just want to say, I really acknowledge you guys for bringing this program forward. I have a cousin that he is in a 12-step program. He is an alcoholic. And the support that I've seen him receive inside of this, the learning, the peace, I just have, and I've said to him before, I said, there should be a 12-step program available for everyone because it is so supportive. And, I love everything that I understand about the support. And, it is so great because we're in a situation where people don't understand, that are not experiencing it. It's like alcoholism. If you don't have that disease or you don't have that condition, I don't need to call it a disease if it's not actually a disease, but if you don't have that condition, then people don't understand, and so, having this, I can really appreciate what you're saying, Lawrence, by having a family. I'm sure it really does feel like a family, and it's a beautiful thing to experience as well. I'm sure, as you said, Katherine, to not have to explain yourself to people because everybody knows, everybody gets it. And what a great offering. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Karen. Hope to see you at a meeting.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
Yeah, thanks for acknowledging that, Karen. And the idea of family, it's like a really interesting thing when you talk about your experience with a family member in 12-step. We laugh together, we cry together, we are there when there's births, we're there when there's deaths. Like 12-step is a really intimate connection, and it's not our family of origin, it's our family of choice.
Absolutely.
It's really powerful. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Kelly has a question. Do you want to come on, Kelly, and ask your question? What you just asked? And come off mute. Kelly? I don't know. I can ask it for her if she's
coming.
Not. Oh, you're
sorry.
Okay, there she is.
Sorry, wasn't really planning on being on camera. So I just mentioned in the chat that I'm not really familiar with a 12-step program and what that all entails. So in this type of situation, is that explained to you before you join? And then I just had a brief look at the literature, and obviously, that would be read. And maybe this question was answered at the beginning, I missed it. But just so like a newcomer to any 12-step program, is that explained on what to do or how the process goes?
I wouldn't say that it is explained really in depth. The website has a lot of information, but how a meeting would go is there's a process and a script that's read, and newcomers are asked to introduce themselves, and then people get to share, and you kind of see the process of how they share. And again, familiarity and repeating the exercise several times with several meetings, you kind of get to understand what's happening. And a great place is 10 minutes before the meeting and then right after the meeting. Like, it's a great question. Like, I don't understand what any of that meeting was about, or like you show up early and say, hey, it's my first meeting. How does this work? What happens? What's the topic? And there's a bunch of people that are there to welcome you and to answer those questions and make you feel as comfortable as possible. But within the context of the meeting, it's very structured and, runs the same way every single time with the topics being different. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. So you can just sit back and listen and not necessarily participate, just to see how things are running and see if it's for you. That's all.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that, because several people mentioned about anxiety and feeling uncomfortable. And I welcome anyone that wants to come to meetings. Keep your camera off. Stay on mute. There will be one time where you will need to connect with the secretary or identify yourself, just so we can make sure who you are and that you're safe. But beyond that, if you want to come and sit 5 meetings in a row and just kind of listen and see who shows up and what they share and start to track people, it takes several meetings to start turning their camera on every time, and some people still don't, okay. And some people like to share with no picture on, and some people share with their picture on and keep their picture on the whole time. But as there's familiarity and consistency, there's connectivity, there's attunement, like all these things start to happen. And it feels safe enough to come out of this little bubble that we're hiding, you know, in parental alienation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question, Kelly.
I think one of the biggest things when we do have meeting is that the first part of self-care is what you all have done tonight is show up. You have done a step and taken care of yourself by showing up and just hearing about it. That's you guys are already starting in the first step in a 12-step program. So I just wanted to make an acknowledgement that you guys are taking care of yourself tonight. And I commend that courage.
You know what might be useful is I can read you a little bit of a script so you have a tiny bit of understanding. Does that feel like that'd be welcome, just to understand?
That'd be great, yeah.
Do you have a leader script near you where you can just read a couple things off, Katherine, and I'll read a couple things off the secretary script? Or I can find them both if it's not convenient.
No, I do. Which one? Meeting one or
one? Anyone is fine. I'm going to read a couple things off the secretary thing, and then Katherine will read a couple things that seem relevant off the leader thing. So how I would start the secretary is I just go, hi, my name is Lawrence, and I'm your PA.A. secretary. And then I'd identify, and we consider identifying just saying, hey, I'm a father and a grandfather. I have 3 daughters and a grandson, and this is how I'm connected to my kids. And then it says PA.A. is a volunteer-run organization for parents, grandparents, children, step-parents, aunts, uncles, and all relatives in the family affected by this disease. A special welcome to the newcomers. It takes dedication and bravery to show up to a new meeting. We welcome you and invite you to stay a while. It usually takes 5 to 6 meetings to adjust to new meeting formats. And it has been a slow process for all of us. And then we ask, is anyone new to the meeting? We let you know what literature we work with. And that's kind of what the secretary report is. And then Katherine will, maybe you can read the preamble that we read, and maybe the closing we read might be really useful for a couple of people to hear, Katherine.
Absolutely.
That'd be great, yeah.
All right. So the alienation is a family disease. Living with the effects of someone else's alienating behavior is too devastating for most people to bear without help. In PA.A., we learned that nothing we say or do can cause or stop someone else's alienating behavior. We are not responsible for another person's disease or recovery from it. By learning to focus on ourselves, our attitudes and well-being improve.
That sounds amazing.
Should I read the next paragraph or go to the closing, Lawrence?
You're the boss, whatever you want to do.
Not the boss. I do like this one. PA.A. is a fellowship that offers a program of recovery for the families and friends who are affected by alienation, regardless of whether or not the alienator recognizes the existence of a problem or seeks help. Members give and receive comfort and understanding through a mutual exchange of experiences, strength, and hope. Sharing of similar challenges binds individuals and groups together in a bond that is protected by a tradition of anonymity. PA.A. is not a religious organization or a counseling agency. It is not a treatment center, nor is it allied with any other organization offering such services. PA.A. neither expresses opinions on outside issues nor endorses outside enterprises. No dues or fees are required. Membership is voluntary, requiring only that one's own life has been adversely affected by someone else's alienating behaviors.
That's fantastic. You know, it sounds exactly what a lot of people are needing. Jane has a question. Jane, do you want to come off mute and ask your question? Jane, are you there? Give her a moment. I don't know if she's still.
Hi.
There's Jane.
Sorry, it took me a second. Yeah, I guess I'm just, because of what I'm going through right now, like I'm long time alienated. That's, but right now I'm dealing with a lawsuit with the alienator. And so I'm really careful about where I post and what I post and where I appear online. So my question was about deniers and how we vet them here in this group. And has this been an issue for this group at all? It's hard to know who to trust. Mm-hmm. And especially right now, because I am, like I said, about to embark on a lawsuit. So anyway, and I would really enjoy the support of a group during this time, like while I'm going through this. So, and I have attended one meeting, which I really enjoyed, but I haven't come back, I guess, because I felt spooked or something, whatever. Like, and I felt reassured by everything that you've said about it takes a few meetings to get acclimatized to all of this, but I really do need to know, like, how do you vet? I know, like I said, Monique already asked this question. I'm talking in circles now, so I'll stop and see what you have to say.
I think that's a great question, Jane, and a lot of people feel some anxiety being in a group with people they don't really know, and they're going through the court system, the family court system, civil suits, whatever it is. So I think that's a real issue that a lot of folks go through, and we haven't had any issues with that. We've had our meeting bomb one time where someone was able to get a link, and we've taken security measures, so we haven't had that problem since. That happened one time. And as far as the vetting goes, if there's someone we don't know on the meeting, when we do the introductions, we make sure that they introduce themselves. And if people aren't willing to introduce themselves or connect directly with the secretary, we remove them from the meeting. Does that mean that it's 100% foolproof? Definitely not, just like any other group, but we take every precaution we can. And I'd say 80% of the people at every meeting, maybe even 90%, are people that have already been to a meeting. So there are newcomers that come along, and slowly you'll see them at repeated meetings. But yeah, that's the best that we can do.
Okay.
That I know of.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I think with me, like I've noticed that the if we have alienators come into the group, they're not target parents, and they're like, it's very obvious after a couple of posts that they they're just there to be a bully. So for people, people that are in that space, I haven't found it difficult to identify them. So I feel like that wouldn't be too hard. Like as soon as they wouldn't be staying silent during the meeting, and they would probably be there, so I think it would be very, for me to see someone in this kind of pain, it can't be, you can't pretend like this is very genuine. And so like for anybody that's been at a few meetings, I would imagine like you can't fake that. So
no, you can't fake it. You're right.
No.
Yeah, I agree with you, Monique. If there's people out there to make trouble, they're going to make themselves apparent, because they're not there to listen to our stories of recovery.
No,
they don't want that.
No, it's yeah. So yeah, especially, and also with people that are PA deniers, like in more a professional sense, or in the lobby groups that deny PA, they have a certain tone too, and they are usually very smug, and they don't sound anything like an alienated parent. They're very different. So yeah, so if someone is thinking a certain thing, after just as soon as they start speaking, I can guess. I don't know, like I don't think you can fake, was what I meant to say. That was my point.
Yeah,
so
and everyone's sharing from the I perspective and about their personal experience. So if someone starts talking about anything but their personal lived experience, they're out. Like there's no spot in between where you can make a mistake and start trying to pitch something or do something. It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've never had that experience yet in a meeting where I've had to remove anyone for the context of their sharing. I've removed some people that haven't identified themselves, And we had that one incidence, and then we put security measures in place, and we've had zero incidences yet. And very excitingly, we started a meeting that's getting hosted out of Singapore.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we have someone that lives in Singapore that's a secretary of a meeting, and it's 2 p.m. in Europe. So hopefully we're going to get a bunch of Europeans, and it's 6 a.m. in California, 6 a.m. in parts of Canada. So it's it's really fun.
Yeah, fun. This is a universal problem though, isn't it? Or like global. Yeah.
Everywhere.
It's
Everywhere.
A pandemic before this pandemic. Yeah.
And just so everyone is aware that the meetings aren't always doom and gloom and tears. We do have fun because, you can't stay in that status. It's not survivable. So when you, like we said, it's a safe space to have whatever emotion you are experiencing, and the support is there. But sometimes we have a great moment. We celebrate it. It's again a safe space to feel what you need to feel at that time.
Yeah, I think Katherine brings up an incredibly important point. Like when we hang out before the meeting, there's a lot of laughter. We're like creating a little family, and there's different people that play big brother, little sister, Aunt Dottie, and we kind of get to play with each other and laugh and recreate those scenarios, and last Sunday we had a Halloween meeting, and people came dressed up, from the neck up. And it was fun to see people just come and play a little bit in the context of sharing where they're at. And a lot of the shares are about like incredulous changes in people's lives. Like, I am watching magic happen on the screen every single meeting I go to. I'm watching people evolve and change and take some responsibility in a different way in their lives and question some of these things that they believe to be true, and stretching and becoming these like beautiful creatures. It's really a phenomenal experience to be in a room of people trying to better themselves. There's nothing in parental alienation that I've seen where you get that. A lot of it is just education, talking about strategies, talking about the court system. This is a place for love and connection and blossoming and crying and holding this universal suffering that we have, but also the universal joy that we have every day. It's a very different place.
That's very insightful. I'm glad that you could mention that, because part of the program is learning how to live again, so you don't have your life over. So it's good to hear that there is some positive emotions, and that people come back to life, I guess, from being in a really bad spot in the vortex, I guess.
Yeah, and just speaking from my experience, my life is incredible. I have this massive life. I've got these connections all over the world that I'm building. I've got people all over my state. I have all these different activities that I get to do, and I miss my kids, and I don't have a relationship with my kids, but I am thriving and struggling with parental alienation. Like, that doesn't go away, but I have reclaimed who I am as a person, and I'm growing spiritually and emotionally as a man. And I believe that I am an active parent because I'm doing this work, much more so than the parent that my kids have access to. Like, what kind of parent shows up and does this deep bottom of the toes work in spite of not having a relationship? Like, we are the primary people if we're willing to do this kind of work. We are the hope. We are the light. That's what I 100% believe.
That's a great point about being a good parent, and that this makes you a good parent. Sorry, Jane, did you have a point to make?
No, I was just saying that I agree completely with him. Like, I have had to find reserves of strength that I never knew I had or had to have. Like, I have to be a stronger parent than I ever imagined I had to be. Like, my girls need, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little teary, but okay, my girls need such a strong parent, and I have to be that parent. So, like, the call to action is really apparent. Not to make a pun there, but it's apparent. So I'm just really grateful to find this group of people, and like, I just really want to, fall into some sort of trust relationship here, because
what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me. And you know, it's kind of a group that I felt like I needed to start, and I found it instead. So anyhow, thanks.
Hey, we love you at the PAC group. You're part of our family too.
Yeah, so thanks for just speaking words that make sense to me, because it's really hard to trust, even just telling the truth, telling your truth to somebody. It's way easier to trust somebody who has been through it, who is going through it, you know. Yeah, there are people that I talk to that really want to be sympathetic, and they're like, they want to either fix it or rationalize it, or, you know, minimize it somehow, and you can't. This is torture. It's like living hell. And I'm really glad, Lawrence, to hear you say, like, you know, you're thriving despite this parental alienation and stuff. Like, it's hard. It's work. It's a lot of work. So that's my response. Anyhow, it feels good to have a place to be able to just speak and know that you don't have to explain. And I think that's something that you said, Katherine, as well. So anyhow, you'll be seeing me at future meetings. I'll be trying you guys out. And hopefully contributing as well eventually.
Okay, you take on a service role, Jane.
Ah, okay. I'll try.
Gerard, do you have a question? It looks like you have a question in the chat. Do you want to come off mute and come ask your question? I think you're on mute still. Oh, there we go. You're on mute. You have to come off mute. See if I can unmute him. There we go.
I wasn't anticipating asking a question. I forgot what the question was. Oh, where do you sign up? Where's the meeting schedule? I saw a schedule on PA-A org page, but I like, you just send an email and somebody sends the stuff.
Yeah, pop-up pops up, and then you just send you just opt into the pop-up, and then I send out an email every Wednesday with the links and the meeting times.
Yeah.
And then you just click on the link and it takes you directly to the meeting.
Okay, are they organized by geographic location or?
Nothing's by geographic location, no.
Sorry,
the meetings are organized by time zone. So I'll list like East Coast time, West Coast time, Singapore time, depending where the meeting is, but a lot is just based off the United States time. I got to figure out a more constructive way to let people convert the time that I have.
Just if I have to practice my Korean or something.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, just wonder. Okay, thanks, guys.
So when they sign up and they'll be on an email list and they'll get regular meetings, and so even if they miss a meeting, they'll still get to, like, for whatever reason they like, it's just the continuing membership, I guess, is what I was asking.
Yeah, there's 5 different meetings a week, and you come to as many or as little as you want. And if you like the Monday meetings, and the next week you do the Wednesday meetings, you do whatever you want. For me personally, I need a lot of meetings. I need to feel grounded and in my body and supported and loved and acknowledged and heard and seen. So I do most probably 3 to 5 meetings a week, and that's what it takes for me to function in a really healthy way. You know?
Do you lead all the 5 meetings that you talked about?
No, so the secretary is the person that's responsible for the meeting, and then there's a leader. Right now, I lead 1 meeting, and I secretary 1 meeting. I secretary the meditation meeting on Thursday nights, And then I'm the secretary of the Sunday meeting, but we have that position's open. So we're looking for someone to take over that position, and all the other meetings have their own secretaries.
Okay. And so you said it spread to Singapore, I think you said. So this is your program that spread to Singapore. Has it spread anywhere else besides that?
You know, we have people we have a lot of Australians, South Africans, a lot of people from different places in Europe. We have a bunch of Canadians that come to meetings. And as people start to come to meetings, like if there's some kind of consistency and continuity, then we start the conversation. Are you open to starting a meeting so the time zone's more accessible to folks in your area? And the more density we get within the group, the more we can open up and support meetings all over the world. But there has to be buy-in. It has to be group driven and peer driven, and to get 5-7 meetings started within the context of the people that we have is fine. But if we want to be at 40, 50, 60 meetings where there's a lot of options and a lot of different times, it's going to be different folks in different countries driving the need for this and the desire to build the community.
To develop some type of critical mass.
Exactly.
That's where that's the hope that you know, this interview and introduction to the program will start spreading, and people will become more aware of it, get involved, and we can start spreading the healing, right? Touching people that are still unaware that this support is available, not just in Canada, but unfortunately it's a worldwide issue.
Yeah, I just want to, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I just want to be clear, is the sign up page on the .org website, or is it on the Facebook page? I cursorily went through a couple of pages very quickly and it couldn't find
on the .org, on the website, on the .org, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So the Facebook page is just to have a presence on the social media? And so
our Facebook page is very different to anyone else's Facebook page. No one can post on the Facebook page unless it's directly related to recovery and the steps. There's no post. The only post that you see is I have a mini blog where I'm talking about recovery and how it adapts to all different aspects of parental alienation. And besides that, it's only recovery posts. You know, so it's very, very tight. I get to approve everything or disapprove everything, which is a hierarchy that's not great. There should be more people in that position than just me. And as we get more density, there will be. But it's strictly recovery. We know there's no promotions, there's no anything except talking about recovery and breaking down different aspects of parental alienation and digging into lower layers of what we're going through. And I share a bunch of different experiences and how
recovery
taps into some of those experiences. And we need more voices doing that on the website. On the Facebook group.
It also speaks to the safety and security Jane was looking for as well. And that's a good thing.
The Facebook group is locked down. There's nothing going on there's nothing that can get posted unless it's strictly about recovery.
It's so safe. Good.
I had a question about one thing that Jane mentioned in the ramble. She mentioned that you're not affiliated with any, or you don't endorse any organization. I think that was generally what it said. But I am part of a nonprofit in Canada. So can nonprofits like sponsor a group or like, you know, host a group, or I guess it has to start organically and it's not really started. It couldn't be like an organization couldn't host this group or try to encourage it. That's what I'm wondering, if there was some way.
I think an organization can definitely help spread the word within their organization, but the group is run by folks that are in the midst or have been in the midst of parental alienation. It can't be like a professional running a group or something like that. That's not how the groups are set up. But using a platform where people have connection to a bunch of different people to help start a group, if it's group FB and they want to sponsor a group and they have someone that's willing to lead, or we can put together a leadership team and then they can bring in folks from their organization, and it can be a whatever that group is. We want to encourage everyone to connect with us in every way possible, but it is a peer-to-peer group. It is peer-led, no professionals.
Okay, so like the nonprofit I'm at the Canadian Association for Equality could and we have a service center for men and families. I think they'd be very interested in sponsoring a group like this. And they have plenty of people that are alienated that would, I think, would be excellent leaders in this and would be very interested in the service roles.
Yeah, and just having some group like that contact me to have a conversation. Like if you were that group and you said, hey, it's a men's group, like I would say, let's start a men's group specifically to support that kind of community. And a lot of people that are already in the community would like to just be in an extended, just a men's group. And in the same conversation, there should be a women's group that's for women. And there's a different level of safety, a different level of conversation in the men's and the women's group that you can't necessarily facilitate sometimes in a mixed group in a safe way, you know?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for same-sex therapeutic groups. A lot of the dads, like you can see that when there's women around, the dynamic changes and they may not be comfortable discussing it. But I at the PAC group, I like to get the dads and the moms to, because sometimes this is falsely considered a gendered issue, parental alienation. And so I'm happy to see the dads and the moms talk to each other and empathize with each other and see that how universal this is. But as long as I guess we could have different kinds of groups, like if some people find it more easy to talk to or connect with like the same sex space, and some people would like to have like a group that's, you know, what about like I think there's LGBT parents too that are alienated, and I'm not sure if I think they get put on the wayside. Like people don't think that they could be alienated, but they could be. Like this can happen to any parent. It doesn't matter about gender identity or, you know, your sexual orientation or anything like that. Any race or ethnicity this could happen to.
Totally, and this is totally genderless, and we're a group that's for the people, by the people, and having LGBTQ meetings, having, you know, whatever the meeting is, like we're open to supporting anything. There's no limitation here. It is for everyone. And just part of my experience is I spent 4 or 5 years in mostly men's stags, you know, and that saved my life. That was a place to express myself and to grow and not be distracted. And mixed groups are incredibly useful too, to you know, co-pollinate different ideas and experiences and stuff like that. And they both have a place, and different people feel different safety in different spaces, but they're all needed. And I will say a lot of men that have come into the meeting are so surprised to see so many women. And it's so healing for the men to say, oh my God, all this time I've been thinking this, and this is really the truth. Thank you, ladies, for showing up. My God, you just changed my life today.
I know. We've created Parental Alienation Canada to be genderless and inclusive. And we also encourage LGBT or anybody that feels marginalized. If you're an alienated parent, you're welcome in our group. And we even have family lawyers that are alienated. They're the ones that we don't like sometimes. And, you know, and then we can actually connect with a target parent that actually is a family lawyer, right? So anybody could be a target parent. And yeah, so it's good if we can see each other, I think, sometimes, and see how universal this is. So I'm happy to hear that it's spreading across the globe, and that there are no barriers to this program.
Yeah, no, it's really progressive. It's really open, and it's about healing. It's about healing and recovery for everyone. And everyone should have the same access. And that's a whole different conversation, because everyone doesn't have the same access based on privilege and access to a computer and stuff like that. But, you know, for the most part, anyone that does have the access to that, it's available to everyone.
Well, I'd say the internet is, most people do have, like even in developing countries now. So I think this is actually very democratic to have the Zoom meetings now like this. So yeah, you can reach anybody with this program now, as long as they have internet access.
Yeah. And we'd love to have I'd just like to say this, we'd love to have a Canadian-based meeting that's led out of Canada around whatever the topic is on the 12 steps. And eventually, as stuff starts to shift in the world over the next couple of years, a lot of these meetings, or some of the meetings, are going to go live, so people actually have physical proximity of other people. That's really healing too, when the time is appropriate and safe, you know?
Aren't you in Vancouver?
No, I'm in Vancouver.
Oh, you're in Vancouver.
I'm Vancouver based.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I was just wondering where you're based, Lawrence?
I'm in Southern California in Ojai, which is just a small mountain town.
Oh, okay. I love that area of the world. Yes. Jane says she's from Stratford, Ontario. So we got Canadians all over the group, but yeah, it would be great to have a Canadian group. So maybe I'll talk to the Canadian Center for Men and Families, and I would like to have that, like have options for not just for men, but also have support moms, everybody that needs support. And I think they would be we have other programs. They're open to all, not just to men, but to everybody. Alberta, Niagara region, we got some comments.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so I am going to show I'm just going to close it up. Thank you so much, both of you, for doing this tonight and telling us about your program and helping.
Thank you.
Can I
think
say,
we're all really happy that you spent the time discussing and making everybody feel comfortable with the program and answering the questions, making it really transparent. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
if anyone wants to go to the meetings tomorrow, you have my email address that I put on there. Just send me an email and I'll make sure to get you the links so you don't have to wait until next Wednesday if that's of interest. And if it's okay with you, Monique, can Katherine read our closing from our meeting before you wrap up your meeting, just so people can hear what that sounds like?
Yes, please do. Yes, please do.
If she's okay with that.
Yes.
Yes. Sure, I'll do that. Members are encouraged to connect with each other for support in between meetings. If you want a copy of our phone list or to be included, please ask the secretary in the chat, responding to the meeting email, or sign on to PA.A.org and fill in the question form with your information. As a reminder, the Zoom link will stay open an extra 10 minutes at the end of the meeting for questions and fellowship. A suggestion to newcomers: please try 5 or 6 meetings before you make a decision if this program is a fit for you. It takes time to acclimate to the group, the context of the shares, and the emotions that might come up, and to build consistency, safety, and a sense of belonging. In closing, I would like to say that the opinions expressed here were strictly those of the person who gave them. Take what you liked and leave the rest. The things you heard were spoken in confidence and should be treated as confidential. Keep them within the walls of this room and the confines of your mind. With a special word to those of you who haven't been with us long. Whatever your problems, there are those among us who have had them too. If you try to keep an open mind, you will find help. You will come to realize that there is no situation too difficult to be bettered and no unhappiness too great to be lessened. Talk to each other, reason things out with someone else, but let there be no gossip or criticism of one another. Instead, let the understanding, love, and peace of the program grow in you one day at a time.
Thank you.
Shall we do the serenity prayer?
Let's do the serenity prayer.
Just a special thank you to you, Monique, for taking the time to sit with us for a couple minutes and listen about what we're doing and what we're exploring and what our community and fellowship looks like. That's much appreciated, the help and support.
I'm very happy to support the parental alienation community. And I'm here to support families. So shall we do the serenity prayer, and then I'm going to show the Facebook group, and that'll be a wrap for the night. That's quite heavy. So
I'm just posting in the chat the words, and again, feel free to replace the word God with whatever what resonates with you. And it always sounds like a really bad birthday chime when we we unmute and say it together. So
yeah, we ask everyone to unmute if they feel comfortable, and we all kind of say it together, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's so much fun.
On 3, 1, 2, 3. To the higher power,
God,
grant
me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can,
and the wisdom to know
the difference.
Get it.
Thank you again, Monique, for this opportunity. And I
Oh, thank
really hope to see you all in meetings to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to show the my screen quickly here. I'm going to show the Facebook group here. If you can go on mute so I don't hear the echo. Yeah, so this is the, I'm going to be posting the video recording today on our YouTube channel. You can find it here, Parental Alienation Canada, and you can find our past recordings here. So this is our group, Parental Alienation Canada. It's a group that's organically grown here in Canada. We're a Canadian-based group, and we're focused on Canadian residents, or if you're from abroad and your children are in Canada, anyone that has to engage the Canadian system is welcome. And we really appreciate the time. And it's a pretty good group. We have a good group of admins, and our rules are about support. So contact me or contact the group if you'd like to join. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Love you, Monique. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye now.